What's the craziest thing that ever happened to us coming to one of these?
Oh, the mountain lion going home from one of these. That's pretty wild.
Hitting the mountain lion.
That's crazy. Yeah, we saw you guys there in Maryland.
Yeah, we hit a mountain lion.
Well, we're driving, and just Dad's all like, hit that. And Dad looked at me, we just hit a mountain lion? I'm like, yeah, we hit a mountain lion. Well, we pull off at a little rest stop thing off the turnpike. And we go down and look at the damage on the car. It's a big old chunk of mountain lion on the license plate.
I wouldn't get out of the car. And I was afraid to see the damage I did to the car. Anyway, I wouldn't want to get out of the car. And he's like, get out of the car. And I'm like, no.
I'm like, get out of the car.
And I'm like, no. He's like, seriously, you got to look at this. I'm like, get out of the car. And I'm thinking, I'm going to get out of the car and the whole front of the car is going to be gone. Because this thing was muscular. It was big.
Yeah, it was probably like 3 feet tall. It's huge.
And so I get out of the car finally after he was going to get out of the car, and I'm sitting there going, no. And I get out of the car and I walk to the front of the car. I look at the license plate and a chunk of meat falls off the license plate. And I'm going, oh, no. And so we had to call they made us call
the state troopers to come get a report for the insurance purposes.
Now, we had a rental car, and so we had a Versa now.
Vista.
A Vista. No, a Versa.
Versa?
Versa.
Yeah, Versa.
Versa, which is a little bitty car. He's 6'10", I'm 6'7". So we look like clowns getting out of a clown car anyway.
The troopers are laughing at us.
So the troopers get there, and we get out of the car, and the one trooper looks at us and goes, seriously? And we're like, yeah. And he goes, well, you did hit a mountain lion. It's dead back on mile marker such and such. And I'm like, really? And I'm I'm a little depressed because I hit an endangered species. And the guy starts laughing, and he goes, how do you two fit in this car?
It's great.
Yeah. But I think that was our worst travel experience.
That's crazy. I don't think that was worse. That was funny.
Well, I don't know. We've had some bad experiences. Some good experiences. Some weird experiences.
No, we saw that on our way back from Tennessee that one time. Big old roll of paper crushed a car. Remember that?
Yeah.
You ever seen those big old rolls of paper on those semi-trucks? Yeah. They rolled off and smashed on this car.
Yeah. But, he doesn't like to fly. Oh, and we used to fly everywhere. I used to...
Yeah, I am.
Well, first of all, planes don't fit him.
I'm like this flying.
And, and it got to the point where I got tired every time we would go up to the boarding. And I'd look at him, and he would be white, and he would be like this. And I get on a plane, and I just, because I used to travel for a living, because I was a corporate trainer, I would travel all over the country. I would get off one plane and jump on another, so it's like driving. And I get on a plane and go to sleep. It's just, Elliot. So I get on the plane and I start going to sleep, and I go, Dad! And he'll go, Dad! And I'm like, what? He goes, what's that noise? And I'm like,
always worried you're flying. You ever read
and I'm like,
20,000 feet?
The plane is turning. The plane is turning. And I'm like, he goes, don't go to sleep. Dad, this was every single time we flew. The stewardess would head up to get the drink card. What's she doing? Like getting the drink card. Are you sure? I smell something burning. And it was like every single time, and this wasn't the end of the United one like once. We flew all the time, and I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, it was just like this big phobia. And finally I got to the point, and I said, you know what? We're going to see the country. We're going to drive. It's like it's going to take us longer to get to places, but you're going to see the country because I am tired of this. But seriously, it was no fun for him because when we would get somewhere, the whole time we were there, he was worried about getting home. The whole time was like, oh, tomorrow I got to get back on the plane. And it was no fun. So that's when we started driving. And everybody goes, well, how long did you drive? 14 hours? And they go, oh, well, that's it. And I'm like, believe me, it wasn't a bad experience. Not after the plane rides, trust me. This is wonderful. For goodness sakes, because those plane trips were horrible. It's like I couldn't calm him down. I thought actually I would have to tranquilize him. Flying into New York City was just
I'm already claustrophobic. in a little plane and how many thousand feet? 20,000 feet.
You know, flying in over the Hudson into New York City that one night.
I about died.
I thought he was going to have a heart attack.
You're looking out the window, all you see is water, 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 and you see yourself going down, and all of a sudden, runway.
That was a cool trip.
Yeah, that was a fun trip.
You know, we went in and we did, was when we did Mike and Juliet for Fox when Mike and Juliet was on in New York, and they called us, the 2 days before Halloween. 2 days before,
and you thought it was a radio show.
I thought it was a radio show. And I'm talking to him, and because I don't watch television. I'm not a television watcher. So it's 2 days before Halloween, and so they called in, and I'm like, it's Fox. You know, and I'm like, okay. So I talked to the guy, and I said, well, Elliot, this guy called me, and I'm talking to him about the radio show, I guess. So I get him on the phone. He's like, so we'll fly you into New York. He goes, we'll pick you up at we'll pick you up a little Guardia in a limousine. We'll take you. You're in the hotels down in Times Square. And I'm going, okay. So I get off the phone to Elliot, and I said, you're not going to believe this one. So we did. We flew in, and that was the day that I did just about everything on my bucket list.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I got on I was on the Panasonic screen, the Panasonic screen in Times Square. We were, and it was like, and that was wild because here I am, we're on the show, and they show, and I look at Elliot, and I'm like, Panasonic screen in Times Square, here we're on it, and we which was really wild because after we get off the show, I mean, all of New York sees you. So we're in Rockefeller Center, and people are stopping us everywhere. We got stopped in LaGuardia. We got stopped at Rockefeller Center, Times Square.
Remember that the bum with the sign?
Oh my gosh!
All right, we're in a McDonald's prior to this. We're eating dinner, and like some guy comes up to me, hey man, can I have money for a hamburger? I'm like, man, I'll go buy you a hamburger. He's like, no, just give me the money. It's like, no man, I'll buy you a hamburger. And so he walks away. Well, we're walking down the street, and I see this guy with a sign.
You save the sign till after.
Well, Dad's walking down the street, turns around, looks at me, and I'm giving this guy like $5.
I didn't know. I'm like, what are you doing? You just told the one bum you weren't going to give him any money. I'm like, what are you giving this guy money? He goes, read the sign, Dad. And the sign said, tell him what the sign said.
It said, need money for drugs, hookers, booze, and something else.
And he goes, I love honesty. And I was like,
$5.
And he gave him $5. And he goes, he was honest with me. And I was like, wow, you gave him the money. And he was like, yeah. But God, we had fun. And have you ever ridden in a limousine through Queens at 100 miles an hour? We have. Oh my God, I thought I was going to die. Now that was worse than flying on a plane.
That guy's hilarious though. We're in the airport and we're at the where you pay for parking.
Yeah, the parking garage is what they call that thing.
Well, he's honking. This lady's behind us honking at us. The guy literally leans out the window and yells and goes, "Quit beeping your horn!" Screams at the top of his lungs at this lady. Just hangs his whole half of his body out the window.
Yeah. Well, no, he said something. It was not "quit beeping your horn."
Quit beeping your button or something like that.
Yeah, quit pushing the button. And, his whole body's out. And I'm like, I hope your foot's on the brake. Quit pushing your button, lady. And I'm like going, oh my God, this is a whole new thing for us because here we are, little Midwest boys. We don't know what, And then, I was wishing his foot would have stayed on that brake because when he hit the gas, it was like, oh, holy God.
Back to the Future.
I'm like, it's like, here we go. And I mean,
we were missing dumpsters by maybe that, swerving in and out.
We weren't on the highway either. We were city streets, and we were flying.
Oh, that's how we all drive up here.
Yeah, it's like, I'm like, yeah, it's like, you could do NASCAR. I'm like, I thought.
I just turned left turn.
Oh my.
Left turn.
No, this guy was boom, boom, boom. And, and I thought I was going to die. He was he drove for a living, but that was a neat experience. And I think that's the thing. It's, we lived through such a horrible, horrible thing with the haunting that we lived through. But the thing is we were able to make it such a positive. I think, and that's what you have to do. I think you have to take something negative and you have to turn it into a positive experience. And we've really had it. We've had some experiences.
We've had fun.
We've had a lot of fun traveling. The travels, I don't think I could have given him the experiences he's gotten out of this, and the time we get to spend together.
Yeah.
I mean, father and son. I don't think most father and son don't get to have the experiences we have, traveling the way we do. And it's something. We get to the end of our travel years, usually November. Last year, after the mountain lion, we were ready to come home.
We were done.
We were done. But, January, we get to the end of January, February, and it's like when we're going on the road again. And then we're ready to hit the road. And this year, we're headed all over.
Everywhere.
Yeah, huge events, and we're reaching out from outside the paranormal and starting to do more horror conventions and Comic Cons and headed back to New York again too. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be exciting. And then we're filming a documentary too
in September.
Yeah, you call Monstrosity.
Can't give it away.
Yeah, can't give it away. But you can probably figure it out by the name. Yeah.